Yeah, can I request everyone to say sadhu to start to
Sadhu,
support you?
sadhu, 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 sadhu.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Mayupamancha viññāna desita dicca bandhuna yata yata nijjayati yoniso paparikkati rittakang chuttakang hoti yanang passati yoniso. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dear friends in the Dhamma, we have come to the last point, that is that Buddha is taking in the Penapindukam Sutta, the Phoam Sutta. And in that, if you recall, what the Blessed One does is separating the combinations or the constituent parts of a human being, of a living being. And for each major constituent part, he is giving a simile. And he's dividing, as we all know, the traditional division that the Buddha is giving, which is the form, feelings, perception, formations or volitions, and the consciousness. So we have discussed the first four. If I just refresh your memory on that, Buddha said the form is like a lump of fire which gets accumulated and bursts off when the time passes. So the body is also like that. And when you bring your attention to the body and when you inspect it closely, examine it very closely, then you start seeing it does not have any solidity. It has a very subtle, feeble existence. And when you take your attention to the body, it will come to a point when you are observing your breath. The breath becomes subtler. And when the breath becomes subtler, you start your body very closely, because what you are observing is not gross. So you will have to be very alert. And when your alertness increases with the breath, and your attention naturally goes into the body, and when you see the body, you don't see any solidity in it. You don't see the heart or the lungs or the spinal cord or other organs. Instead, you see some basic natures of physics. You may see some roughness, you may see some hardness, you may see some heaviness, softness, lightness, or heat, cold, so on and so forth. And when you see those things, you will still get close to these basic natures of any physical thing. You will see the common characteristics of these basic elements. And the common characteristics of the basic element is arising and passing away. And when you see that arising and passing away nature, it happens even in the breath. That is exactly what is happening in the breath. Breath arises and passes away. That is why we call it inhalation and exhalation. And it continuously happens, because it continuously happens, and that is the fuel that keeps our body functioning. When that becomes subtler, you start seeing the body without that fuel. And when you see the body without that fuel of functioning, then you see the body is also having the same nature, rising and passing away. So we have discussed that in very detail. So I'm not going to go into detail of that anymore. And then you see this, when you see this nature, some people may like it, some people may not like it. And depending on that, you will have a feeling, either pleasant or unpleasant feeling. So for feelings, the Blessed One said, it's like a water bubble. When you have the contact with the feeling or with that phenomena of arising and passing away, or with the phenomena or with the nature of the physicality, you will have a liking and disliking, and that liking and disliking is a pleasant or unpleasant feeling. So it comes with the contact. Similarly, when the water bubble appears, a raindrop will fall onto the surface of the water of a pond or any water body, and the bubble will be created, and it will pop up, and it will last for a few seconds or fraction of a second and burst off. Similarly, the same thing happens in feelings as well, because your liking and disliking is to something that appears and disappears. So when you have that contact with appearance and disappearance, only to that extent you have this pleasantness or unpleasantness. So, but when you don't inspect it closely, when you don't examine it closely, then when you don't see it appropriately, then you take it as a permanent thing, then you take it as it is going forever. And the other thing in the mental processes of human beings after feelings is the perception. And the perception, the function of the perception, or this factor of perception, is the one which identifies pleasantness, unpleasantness, and neither pleasant nor unpleasant situation. So when you observe this feeling closely, and that observation amounts to a non-reaction. So when your non-reactional observation increases, you will not give very much prominence to the feelings. When you don't give the prominence to feelings, what happens is that is the feelings is the one. Feelings is the result of the perception, right? So when that result is not accepted, when that result is nullified, or when there is nobody to accept what the perception is giving, and then you start seeing the function of the perception. In other words, you go deeper into the iceberg. The top part has been evaporated, and what was beneath the water body is coming up. So you start seeing perception. When you start seeing perception, you will have a lot of mental images. You will have a lot of thoughts sometimes. You will remember the places you have been to. You will remember the people you have seen. You may remember things you have eaten. You may remember the dances you have done, those beautiful days, those young days, those kids' days, and all those things. And when you see those perceptions, again, the Blessed One says, the perceptions is like a mirage. And they, when you try to get close to it, they go further and away. So we have discussed that also in detail. So in even there, what the Blessed One says is, perception will have to be considered as a mirage, something that you cannot get close to. But instead, by chasing behind them, you will simply be tired, and that chase will bring your end, right? So that perception, because we have in perceptions the main three perceptions that rules, that governs, that controls the entire humanity or entire animal kingdom are the perception of permanence, perceptions of pleasure, perception of self, ego. Because of these three main perceptions, all other perceptions are built. So that is why the Blessed One says, you try your level best to make things permanent, you try your level best to make things pleasurable, you try your level best to make things self-controlled, but which is absolutely impossible, and you will simply be tired only, you will be simply anxious only, you will be simply tensed only, and then when you don't really realize it, that may have consumed you already. So that is what we do here. When those perceptions come, we don't try to make it self, we simply try to observe it. And that is the teaching we make by asking people, asking the practitioners to observe the shapes and manners of walking, shapes and manners of the breath, shapes and manners of anything that you do when the body is involved. If the body is not involved, we ask you to take as much information as possible of whatever you observe. And when you take information, what you take as informations are perceptions. So when you taking informations means you simply observe it, right? So when you simply observe these perceptions, you don't run behind, and you simply see how these perceptions change. And that is why you see the breath becomes subtler, and that's why you see breath disappears. That is how you see left foot walking is different to right foot walking. That is why you see when you keep on observing the walking and it goes to a stage that you don't have control of your own walking. So that is because these perceptions are changing, and then the perceptions are changing. We ask the practitioners not to poke their fingers in and let it happen the way it is happening. And because of this perceptions, which we try to make permanent, pleasurable, and self, you have got to do things continuously. You have got to intentionally do things continuously. You will have to keep adjusting things incessantly. And as a result, this mental factor of formations, volitions is coming into the picture. And those volitional activities may be in three forms: physical, verbal, and mental, or mainly it is verbal, physical, and mental. That is how it works. And using the same thing, same habit of the mind, we go through even the volitional activities. That is the meaning of mindfulness. Mindfulness means only volitional thing that you do is not to do anything volition, not to do anything intentional, not to react. It is an art of not doing things. So when you learn that art of not doing things, we directly challenge, we directly declare war against one of the main functions or deeper main functions of the mind, which controls the perceptions, which controls feelings, which controls the body. And that we have discussed in detail. I have tried to discuss it in detail to the best of my ability, and you may have tried to understand it to the best of your ability in the last 5 or 6 talks. And today we are going to the last segment of the mental process of living being. and that is consciousness. And in this particular sutta, the Blessed One is explaining, or the meaning of the particular verse I just chanted is that consciousness, a magic trick. This has been taught by the king's man of the sun. However you observe them, appropriately examine them, they are empty, void, to whoever who sees them appropriately. So that is what the Blessed One says. Consciousness is a magic. It's like a trick, and it is always asking us on Valentine days, not Valentine days, on what's the other day? Halloween day. On the Halloween day, kids come and ask, trick or treat. But so far as consciousness is concerned, it is giving us a treat, which itself is a trick. So the Blessed One says, consciousness is a magic trick. And he says, it has been taught by the kingsman of the sun. Kingsman of the sun is the clan of the Buddha. Surya Vansha, we call it. So that is Buddha. Says Buddha has taught it, that it is, when you observe it, it is empty, void, and hollow. Whenever you do it, observe it, inspect it, examine it appropriately. And why it is a magic trick is because when someone is performing magic, we definitely know that there is no truth in it. When you go to magic shows, we know there is no truth in it. But we are such fools to pay money and go and see it. And go and see people are creating parrots from their sleeves, from their clothes, and having all sorts of card tricks and creating all sorts of animals. So since the YouTube is there, and you must be aware that there are in AGT, that T, this T, everywhere in all talent shows, there are magicians, and the entire audience, 4,500, 5,000 people, whistles and claps and confirms that they are fools, the magic tricks. So it is exactly the same thing that the consciousness is doing, and that is the biggest, the most clever magician, our consciousness, because that consciousness is so clever to say that everything is permanent, and 99.9% of the people in the world accept that it is permanent, and they try to make it permanent. And that is why we have leaders, that is why we have politicians, that is why we have institutions, educational institutions, that is why we are doing research, to make it permanent, to make it pleasurable, to make it what you call self, that you have the control over it. But all these people who do it passes away, and they become a victim of the same magician. And nobody has been able to really show that this life is under his own control. If it is under his own control, you should be able to control it and not die, not fall sick, not get aged. But this magician is so clever. Even if you are 85, that magician is creating cream, that magician is creating all sorts of cosmetic, all sorts of beauty products and beauty magics. And when 80-year-old woman goes into a salon and comes back, she looks like 81. or rather 18. And Loku Hamadruwa says, Achi Manamalaya Karano, Manamali Karano. So a grandmother can be presented as bride because of this tricks of our own consciousness, and by the tricks made by our own consciousness. So therefore the Blessed One says, and this is a magician, and get close to it and see how it creates. And if we try to understand this consciousness a bit more, when the Blessed One is talking about consciousness, he is directly saying what consciousness is. He relates consciousness to fire. And when you say fire, it does not have straight away a direct meaning. Fire is fire. We know it's an energy that has the ability to burn things, to heat things, etc. So, in order to really identify what that fire is, you call it either wood fire, or hay fire, or cow dung fire, or wildfire, Buddha says. Otherwise, just saying fire doesn't make sense. When there is wildfire, if you just go and tell someone fire, they won't bother. But if you say wildfire, then they really get the intensity of it. And similarly, hay fire, another different intensity. And cow dung fire, these are the fires that have existed during Buddha's time. But today, we can have fire from bombs, a gas fire as well, and various other sorts of fires today, electric fire and things like that. So therefore, this fire is always associated with by which it is created. And our consciousness is also a fire like that. Therefore, the Blessed One says, consciousness will be seen, consciousness can be seen only with which it is related to. Therefore, consciousness will be identified as eye consciousness, or ear consciousness, or nose consciousness, or tongue consciousness, or body consciousness, or the mind consciousness. So, because this consciousness on its own does not exist. I will come to that later. You can't really see it is at work when consciousness is not connected with something. But when your eye is active, you know eye consciousness is at work. How this consciousness arises, it is the ability to connect your internal object or internal faculty with the particular external faculty. Your eye consciousness, the ability, the connection, the wave that eye is producing will take only forms. It can see tangible things. It can see colors. It can see shapes. So that is the ability of the eye. And it cannot, eye consciousness cannot get sounds. Eye consciousness cannot get aromas. Eye consciousness cannot get tastes. Or eye consciousness cannot get tactile sensation. Eye consciousness cannot get mind objects. Similarly, the other consciousness, when ear is active, it can get sounds only. It can't get any of the other external objects that relates to the other faculties, such as form, aromas, tastes, tactile sensations, and the mind object. Ear cannot get. So on and so forth. for the other faculties as well, other internal faculties as well. So it is the energy, or it is the wave that goes from your internal faculty to the external faculty, and that activation of the energy is the consciousness. So therefore, always we identify consciousness as eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind consciousness. So that is why the Blessed One says this relates to a fire. This is like a fire. That consciousness is really a fire. It fires you up when you see, hear, knows, when you smells, when you tastes, when you get tactile sensations, when you have bodily contacts, when you get mind objects, it fires things up. So that is why the Blessed One is using the fire simile. So that is his omniscient ability. He knows what simile, what best simile that should be used under each and every circumstances. Right. So this is consciousness. And if you take it to our practice a little bit, what we do is we are challenging this consciousness, this consciousness. And the Blessed One says, go to a forest, go to a foot of a tree, and go to an empty hut. Close your eyes, cross your legs, hold your hands on the lap, and have your body erect. Keep your body erect. Keep your spinal erect. Keep your neck erect. He doesn't say all those things. And then observe your breath. And that shuts down the eye faculty, shuts down the ear faculty to a great extent. Nose, tongue, and body and mind is slightly active, and they are active only to observe your sitting posture, only to observe your breath, or only to observe what is prominent in that particular moment in time. So when you do that, and there will have a huge internal war, because I always wants to have this consciousness for that, and ear always wants to have its consciousness for that, and nose always that. So therefore, the Blessed One is paving the way for this consciousness to show its magic, and then asking the practitioner, are you able to sit without seeing that magic? Then what happens is, you don't see the magician's performance. You go behind the magician and see what sort of tricks it is doing. And that is what the Blessed One is doing by asking us to observe yourself in this particular point in time, right here, right now. So when you observe that, the consciousness will not be able to jump from eye to ear, ear to tongue, ear to body, ear to nose, ear to eye, ear to mind. Otherwise, this consciousness will keep running in these faculties at a rate that we are unable to match at a speed that we simply don't have any clue about. So to see that, when you sit cross-legged in that manner, you yourself, irrespective of how well, how long you have practiced, there will have so much of thoughts that are created by maybe nothing for the ear, nothing for the eye, nothing for the nose, nothing for the tongue, body, but the mind will be active so much with the things that the ear has done, that the eye has done, that the nose has done, that the tongue has done, that the body has done. So this is how the Blessed One is giving us an opportunity to see the strength of this fire. And those who are practicing here have been practicing for quite some time, and has given a good challenge to this consciousness, has given a good fight to this fire, has given a good, taught a good lesson for this energy, the ability that controls our internal and external faculties. Right? So we will discuss how it relates to the practice further and further later. Another question that a lot of people ask when we discuss about consciousness is that whether the consciousness and the mind is the same. It's a question that a lot of people ask, and a lot of people think that the consciousness and mind is the same. Consciousness and mind is not the same, according to what Buddha has said. So I just learned what Buddha says about consciousness. Consciousness is a thing that relates internal and external faculty, and it's the ability to relate these two things. So therefore, consciousness is always identified with the name of the faculty with which it relates to. And whereas the mind is concerned, the books, suttas say in Dhammapada, there is a verse which explains the mind, and it says, Durangaman ekacharang asarirang guhasayang. That is one explanation of the mind. And there is another explanation. There are so many explanations, but I have picked up two. There is another explanation in numerical discourses. In Panahita Achavagga, there is another stanza which says, Pabassara midam bhikkave chittang agantuke upakkilitte upakkilitta. So if we take the first one, which is Durangamang ekacharang asarirang guhasaya, it says, Ye chittang saye messanti mukkanti mara bandhana. Right? So which means the mind wanders far and moves about alone. It is non-material, and it lies in the cave. Those who control their mind will be free from the bonds of Mara, the evil one. So this is the meaning of that particular verse. Durangamang means wanders far away. Ekacharang means move alone. And asarirang means no material existence. Guhasayang means lives in a cave. And that is the mind. And if that mind can be controlled, those who control that mind will not be caught up by the evil one, and evil one will not have any chance of getting close to such people. And again, if I bring the practice, and that is why when we practice, if we are initially, we see the strength of the consciousness as soon as you start, or during the early days of your practice. So many thoughts, so much of thoughts, and it's like a wildfire in your head. So you can't bring your attention at all to the walking. You can't bring your attention at all to the breath. But when you keep on doing over time, what happens is, let me put it this way. When it happens, you see that your mind wanders far away. It goes far away. Although you are sitting, say, in Brisbane, although I'm sitting in Sri Lanka, in the ancient city of Anuradhapura, my mind will be coming to Brisbane. My mind will be going to Canada. My mind will be going to US about the retreats that I will be organizing in the future. Or for some other people, say if a scientist is practicing, if a researcher is practicing, his mind will go to the research he is doing. And if he is doing a research about the sun and the moon, his mind will go to the sun and the moon. And even beyond, if someone is doing, physics researcher, his mind will be in the universe. And those are the guys in NASA, because they will be, they are caught up by this magician, and they are being taken away from the place where their mind should be, to far, far, far away dark corners of the universe. So that is why the Blessed One says the mind wanders far away. And there is a nice Sinhala song. There is no point telling that song to you guys. So therefore, I'm not telling that. They will have a nice English song as well, which I don't know. Anyway, if you find any song like that, let me know so that I can quote in my English talks in future. All right. And the next one is Ekachara. Ekachara means it does not require any companion. It goes on its own. We only want a partner to do things. And mind does not want a partner. It goes on its own and goes very far away. And it's non-material. It's a very good attribute that the Buddha is giving for the mind. Lot of people are trying to see the mind in the brain. Lot of people are trying to see the mind in the heart. Lot of people are trying to take the mind out from the body. And here it's a place where the Blessed One very clearly says, Asarirang, it does not have a body. It does not have a material existence. It is just an energy. That's what the Buddha is saying here. And Asarira, non-matter. So therefore, in human existence, we have a physical process and mental process. Mental process means this activation of the energy. That is what the mind is. And this mind is the one that connects with the body. And when it connects with the body, we identify that as feelings. And when it has been purified a bit further, or rather than saying purified, when it has been analyzed, classified, and closely examined, then you see another aspect of this energy, which is the perception. And when you purify it further, when you analyze it further, when you observe it further, then you see another strong activity of the mind, which is this volitional thing, intentional act. And when you separate that as well from the equation, then you are left with this energy layer, which creates all these damage. So therefore, the Blessed One says, it goes far away, it goes on its own, and it does not have a material existence. So therefore, it can go to any place in the universe. There is, although you have been prisoned in just one cubicle with no doors, no windows, and just walls all over, and this very concreted roof, and there is not even a tiny hole. I don't know how you breathe, and I don't know how you eat. Doesn't matter. That's not my point. But still, your mind will be all over the universe because it is a non-material thing, and it doesn't have any boundary. So, and it lives when it is not going far away. When it is going alone, when it is not going alone, this immaterial existence, non-material existence, it lives in a cave. And even if it goes somewhere, it keeps some relationship with the place where it lives. It gives some it's like, flight, say for example, a spacecraft. When the spacecraft, although the spacecraft goes far, far, far away from our atmosphere, it has a connection with the controlling room. Similarly, a flight will have a connection with the controlling room. Similarly, this flight is also, it exactly knows where it will be parked. It exactly knows where it can come anytime. it knows its garage, and it has a connection with that garage all the time. So the Blessed One asks us to keep your hands on the lap and close your eyes, hold your spinal upright, and see where it goes and where it has the connection to. And for you to see that, you let go beyond the body, let go beyond the feelings, you let go beyond the perceptions, you let go beyond the formations or mental volitions. Then only you may have a chance to see where it lives. And even if you see where it lives, you will not identify. You will be just giving an experience. And when you give that experience, your practitioner or your teacher will know how this person has come here. And the practitioner, the teacher, not the practitioner, I said that twice. Your teacher, from the report that you are providing, knows what is happening to this particular person. So for you to see that, you must have seen the body as form. You must have seen the water bubble. You must have seen the mirage. You must have seen the plantain tree, pointless, the plantain tree with no heartwood. And you must have gone beyond the magician as well. The magician can't show any magic anymore. And then you will see, this is what is happening. And there are people who corners that energy that goes far away in that manner. And when you corners this energy that goes far away all alone without a body, then it directly comes to your body. This is what we do by scanning the body. Bring our attention to the body. Bring that energy to the body. And with that, Durangamang, going far away is cut off. And even if it goes far away, the policeman is behind. Mindfulness is behind. You are going far away. Doesn't matter. I'm just observing. Then it will come back. And you don't go, but your mind is something is happening. And then it comes back. When it comes back to the thing that it has created, which is the breath, or the walking, or the feeling. So when it comes to those things, you simply keep observing all the time. And then you will have some sort of a control over your mind, and that will not give any opportunity for the Mara to play tricks with you. So for this stanza, rather the verse that the Blessed One chanted, there is a nice story behind it. It's a very funny story. During Buddha's time, there has been a monk called Sangarakita. I am Dhammarakita, and this particular monk is Sangarakita. And Buddha has been living in Jetavana monastery, and this particular monk has been living in Savatthi. He's a senior bhikkhu, and his sister has given birth to a son, and she has named this child after his uncle, the Sangarakita. So he has been known as Sangarakita Jr. Bhagineya Sangarakita Bhagineya. And this nephew Sangarakita subsequently was ordained, and then this young bhikkhu was staying in a village monastery. He was offered 2 sets of robes, and he intended to offer one to his uncle. because this is after Vassa. So he thought it should be given to him. So at the end of at rainy season, he went to his uncle to pay respect to him and offer the robe. And once the robe was offered, the uncle said, "No, I don't want." He declined to accept. I have so many robes, and you keep it with you. And this young monk, he was so fond of his uncle, he wanted someone to give it. So he was insisting the senior monk to take it. But senior monk repeated that he doesn't want, and he kept on denying. And then the young bhikkhu felt very disheartened, and he thought that since his uncle was so unwilling to share the requisites with him, it would be better for him to leave the monkhood and live a life of ordinary layman, or say life of a layman. Then from that point onward, his mind wandered. And when this was happening, he was fanning his uncle. So he was fanning his uncle because he offered the robe and he did not accept it. And then he kept the robe, and uncle had taken probably his lunch or breakfast, and he has been sweating, and he has been asked to fan him a little bit. So while fanning, he's thinking about what happened, and his mind wandered, and a train of thoughts followed. And then he was thinking, okay, I will leave the order. And after leaving the order, he would sell the robes and buy a she goat. And then that she goat would breed very quickly. And soon he would have a lot of money. And then when he has money, he will put a small house and become a family man and get a beautiful woman and marry her. And then his wife, after some time, will give a birth to a son. And then he would take his wife and the child in a small cart to visit his uncle at the monastery, because he has left the monastery and not seen him for some time. Uncle would be happy to see the wife and the child and all that, he thought. So he thought of taking them to the uncle. And on the way, he would say that he would carry the child. He would say to his wife, although he is riding the cart, while riding the cart, and he said, okay, give me the child, I will hold the child. Then ladies are not fools, so she says, you would drive the cart and not to bother about the child. I will look after the child. He would insist and say, give me the child before I slap you. And then she doesn't give. And this fellow grabs the child. While grabbing the child, and when the two are fighting to get the child and to hold the child falls in between the cart, and wheel goes on the child, and the child passes away. And he would get so furious about it with his wife, and he hit the woman with the goading stick, with the stick he is using to ride the cart, to control the cow. And at that time, the senior monk says, knowing what happened, you are unable to beat your wife, but instead you hit my bald head. and then young Sangarakkhita was very upset, very surprised, very embarrassed of the words of the old bhikkhu. So now he has fallen from what to fire now, and he became so frightened that his uncle will punish him. young bhikkhu, what he did was, he ran away, he fled the monastery. And the other young bhikkhus in the monastery and the novices chased him and caught him and finally took him to the Buddha. And when he took him to the Buddha, Buddha asked what happened. These young monks, bhikkhus, explained the whole episode. Possibly, senior monk may have told that this has happened and he has been thinking like this, and that is how he hit my head because of the thought process that went on. So that may have been told to the Blessed One. Then the Buddha said that the mind has that ability to think of an object even though it might be far, far away, even though it does not exist. And that one should strive hard to liberate from such bondage of passion. And this happened because of the passion. This happened because of the ill will. This happens because of the ignorance. So these are the very same thing that we try to attack by being mindful, by bringing the mind to the present moment. We challenge the passion that our mind is having to move from one sense faculty to the other sense faculty. When you try to keep your attention to the breath or the walking or to whatever that comes your way, you don't create passion with it. Just be observant about it. And as a result, you will not create ill will as well. Although it changes, what you simply do is observe. So both the passion and the ill will is taken care of in that. And when you keep on doing more and more and more, when you further your practice, you become more and more knowledgeable. Your ignorance disappears. You start seeing how this physical process changes to feelings, how it goes to perception, how it goes to mental volitions, and you are able to go through this physical and mental process, and you will have some sort of an understanding that you did not have earlier of your own existence. And that is called the knowledge. That is called the wisdom, the opposite of the ignorance. And once it comes to fruition, then you will be able to completely eradicate ignorance. And that happens momentarily. And so many momentarily happenings will accumulate into to give you one what do you call experience of wisdom, not the full final wisdom. A slight flashes of wisdom will come when the ignorance disappears in that manner. That is why some of you say, although I am walking, I don't have control of my walk. Although I am observing my breath, there is no breath, because you have gone beyond it. You are not anymore fooled by the physical existence. That is some wisdom to go beyond the physical. So at the end of this verse, this young monk, after Buddha explained this to this young monk, he came to the first stage of enlightenment, which is stream winner stage. He was able to, when he was explaining this, that it goes far away in this manner, his mind may have directly come to the body, and he has been able to observe it. So this is one explanation of the mind. So therefore, in that, you see, it is not really consciousness. This is the ability of the mind, and that ability to go far away and live alone and live in a cave is one explanation of the mind. And it also there is another explanation of the mind, which is even deeper than the explanation that is given here. and that really differentiate the mind and the consciousness, gives the very clear distinction between the mind and the consciousness. So that is the other stanza I mentioned, which is the stanza in the numerical discourse, Panahitacha Vagga, and it says how mind becomes consciousness. And it says, Pabasaramidam bhikkave chittam tanchako agantuke upakkilisse upakkilita, which means the bhikkhu mind is luminous. When new, strange defilements comes into the mind, it becomes defiled. That is the meaning of that particular stanza. It is luminous and it is so bright. It does not have any dirt in it. That is the original state. And in the original state, it is luminous, means it stays at the energy level. At the energy level, there is absolutely nothing. But when some strange, new, uninvited defilement comes in, it gets defiled. Say, for example, how do I say? When a child is born, and if that child does not see anything, then he will not have any defilements. But what the parents do is, they bring as many colors as possible to the eye of the child and try to create as much defilements as possible. Then only the eye will be active and that illuminous state of the mind will go away. And suppose early morning when you wake up, just to give an example, you will be so fresh. But as soon as you wake up, you start seeing things, that freshness will go away. And that has been happening for us over so many eons, so many millions of years. And so much of dirt have been accumulated in our physical mental processes. So therefore, that luminous nature of the mind is no longer available. Rather than the luminous nature of the mind, I should say that its original energy state, that is a better way to explain it. That original state of the mind, original energy state of the mind cannot be seen. And that original state will be changed by an external form. That original state will be changed by an external sound. That original state will be changed by external aroma, external taste that comes to your mouth, or some contact that gets onto your body, or some object that comes up in your mind. When that comes up, that original serenity goes away. The best way another way to explain it is, when you are fully concentrated, say, in your practice, and if you hear a sound, that purified state will get defiled. And in that manner, it has been happening for so many eons, and we are not able to see that original state, original energy layer of the mind. So that is another explanation, and that is how this energy is turning into consciousness. So when that energy turns into consciousness with a defilement, then it identifies with the object with which it is connected. So I would like to conclude my talk here, and we will discuss bit further about this second explanation in the next talk. And until such time, may you have the ability and the strength to see the magic of the mind without getting fooled by it. Blessings of the Triple Gem.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So, right, with that, we will be able to go for any discussion items if you have.
Teruvan Saranasa, I think it was like something you said last week about the consciousness, that like completely changed the way I thought about it. Like, so I think you said, when we are born, we are given a consciousness. Like, there's no point to keep on adding stuff to it, which is like so relatable to like what I was going through. Because like with my cravings, I was just like creating more and more consciousness, and forgot to realize that there was already consciousness there. And yeah, from then on, like I think it was from that day, like I started like observing my body for the way it is, like for who I am, for the way I am, for like who I am for who I was born, kind of thing. So I was just there wherever I was. So yeah, that definitely completely like changed the way I thought. Like I think the
Yeah,
cravings only, yeah, the cravings only happened like last night and like this morning. So like came up, and I think I've been telling Swami Master how I was like gasping for breath, to like which was like more relieving and all that. So when it started happening, I started resorting to like grasping my breath, and when I was grasping my breath, I was able to like see it a lot more. Like I was able to tell myself, oh, I'm aware now. So I think with the grasping of the breath, like I was more aware of like to see what was happening when it happened. Like there was like slight identifying myself with it, but even when it happened, I was just like watching it happen like throughout the day.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, apart from that, like throughout the week, um, just the week was really good. Like I felt like a lot of reliefs, and like I think the word is raptures, like a lot of raptures like throughout the week. Feeling very like a lot of good feelings. Sometimes I feel like I'm getting tickled, like all sorts of good feelings. So like yeah, it was a very good week in general. Yeah. Yeah, that'll be all.
okay. So when you have those good feelings, are you
Yeah.
happy about it, or
Yeah, I'm happy about it. Yeah.
yeah? So this is where you have got to be a bit careful,
Yeah.
because this is the trick of the mind. This is what the
Mm.
consciousness does. It will give you all these rapturous situations and all happy feelings
Yeah.
to create the craving.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, it has, without your knowledge, already created ill will towards the absence of it.
Mm.
So being happy is fine, and
Yeah.
rather having rapture is also fine. But when you have it, just label it as rapture. Just
Yeah.
just to remind yourself that you are aware that you are having rapture.
Yeah.
Remind yourself that you are aware that you are happy with it, so
Mm.
that it will not be able to overwhelm you.
Yeah.
So if it overwhelms you, what happens is rapture will not last forever. Happiness will not last forever. So
Mm.
if you have been consumed by the rapture and by the happiness, as soon as it goes away, you will fall into the bottom.
Mm.
You will be down to the rock bottom.
Yeah.
Right. That is because it has consumed you. You have been overwhelmed by it.
Mm.
Instead, when you have it, if you say aware, or rapture, happy, 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 and when you remind yourself that you are aware of it, and when in the absence of it, also what you do is you say you are aware.
Yeah.
So it's either way, your mind will not fluctuate.
Mm.
So you will learn the art of maintaining the equipoised mind.
Mm.
So our consciousness is trying. Now these are subtle defilements because we are practitioners. Subtle defilements, they are trying to create craving through the practice now, through the rapture now, because these are the experiences that we get as practitioners. So from those experiences, if we get caught, still the samsara will continue. This is exactly what happened before Buddha. Those practitioners, they had these pleasant sensations, blissful situations. They identified themselves with it. So they could not come out of it.
Come
So
on.
to come out of it is to label them or remind yourself that you are in that particular moment, particular experience, right through when you have it. And when it fades away, you fading away also you can observe. So only thing you will do is throughout your life, observation only.
Yeah, I actually remember that, like when I was having the raptures, I actually remember that from one of Swami Maharaj's previous talks. So like that kind of like had the awareness of what the rapture was and that it wasn't gonna last.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was like a slight sense of awareness when it was happening. Yeah. But yeah, I will keep that in mind. Yeah.
Yeah, and you may not be able to do it overnight, but hearing this over and over again, giving reports like this, will keep you reminded all the time. So it will, at one or the other point, it will gradually come into your practicing system.
Yeah.
Everyone's.
Thanks so much.
Anybody from Brisbane?
Swaminathan sir.
Everyone's Saranai.
ගොඩ කාලෙකින් වාර්තාවක් දෙන්න බැරි නිසා සාමාන්‍ය භාවනාව යන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා කියන්නයි අවශ්‍ය වුණේ.
හොඳයි.
සක්මන් කරද්දී ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ පාද ස්පර්ශයට කකුල හිත තියාගෙන ඉන්න පුළුවන් බොහෝ වෙලාවට. සමහර වෙලාවට සිතුවිලි එනවා එනාට එවිදිනවා කියලා දන්නවා ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ. එහෙම තමයි මුළු සක්මනම යන්නේ. සීතල රළු බව සියුම් බව ඔක්කොම අඳුර ගන්න පුළුවන් ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ. පාරයන්කෙන්දෙද්දී අද උස්ම සියුම් වෙලා යනකම්ම එදිහා බලාගෙන ඉන්න පුළුවන් වුණා ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ. මා භාවනා කරගෙන යද්දී මට තේරුණා නිකන්වත් චුට්ටක්වත් හෙලුණේවත් නැහැ කියලා. උස්ම දිහා බලාගෙන ඉන්න පුළුවන් සිතුවිලි ආවත් ඒව බාධාවක් කියලා තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ.
උස්මට තේරුණා ඒක.
හුස්ම තේරෙනවා සිතුවිලි ආවත් ඒක බාධාවක් නැහැ.
right.
එහෙම තමයි ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ මේ දවස්වල යන්නේ මුළු භාවනා කාලෙම ඒ කියන්නේ කිසිම බාධාවක් නැතුව හුස්මෙම හිත තියාගෙන ඉන්න පුළුවන් ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ.
හොඳයි. හුස්මෙම හිත තියාගෙන ඉන්නවා නම් ඒකේ විස්තර ටිකක් කියන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕන මීට වැඩිය. ඔව්. දැන් සක්මනේ කිව්වා හිතුවිලි තියෙනවා රළු බව තියෙනවා කියලා. දැන් හිතුවිලි තියෙනවා සක්මනක් තියෙන බව දන්නවා කියලා. ඒකේ ඒ සක්මන තියෙන බව දන්නවා ඒ දෙකම තියෙනවා කියලා දන්නවා කියලා කියන්නේ දැන් මයින්ඩ්ෆුල්නස් එක ඩයිවර්සිෆයි වෙනවා. එක ඔබ්ජෙක්ට් එකක් තියෙනවට වැඩිය ඔබ්ජෙක්ට් දෙකක් තියෙද්දිත් ඔබ්සර්ව් කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේ ඔබ්ජෙක්ට්ස් ගන්න වැඩි වෙනවා. ඔබ්සර්වේෂන් එක ඒ අණුව පික් කරන්නේ නැතුව වැඩි වෙනවා. එතකොට මෙතනත් හුස්ම සියුම් වෙනවා. motionless බලාගෙන ඉන්න පුළුවන්. හිතුවිලි එනවා හිතුවිලි ආවට හිතුවිලි කරදරයක් නැහැ. දිගටම හුස්ම හිත තියාගෙන ඉන්නවා කියලා කියනවනේ. ඉන්නවා කියන තැනට එනකම් පොඩ තොරතුරු එකතු කරලා තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ අර දිගටම හුස්ම හිත තියාගෙන ඉද්දී අපිට පුළුවන් නම් මේ වෙලාවේ බොහෝම සියුම්වට තියෙන තොරතුරු. ඒ සියුම්වට තියෙන තොරතුරු ගන්න පොඩ්ඩක් හුස්මට තව කිට්ටු වෙනවා නම් ඔయిత වැඩි ඕක ඇවිස්සෙනවා. මොකද වෙන්නේ? ඔය විදියට ඔහොම බලන් හිටපුවම දැන් මේ හුස්ස සියුම් වෙලා නිසා හුස්මෙම හිත තියෙන නිසා අර එළියේ තියෙන මල කරදර ඔක්කොම ඉවරයිනේ.
එහෙමයි.
එන්න ඔකේ දිගට ඉන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් ඔක දිගට ඉද්දී පොඩ තොරතුරු නොගැනීම නිසා කිට්ටු වෙලා නොබැලීම නිසා දැන් කියන තැන දිගටම තියනවා වගේ තේරෙනවා. දැන් කියන එක දිගටම තියනවා වගේ තේරෙනවා. දැන් කියන එක නිතරම වෙනස් වෙනවනේ. හැමදේම හැමතිස්සෙම වෙනස් වෙනවනේ. ඒ වෙනස් වෙන එක බලන්න කිට්ටු වෙන්නේ. මම කියන එක පැහැදිලිද මන්ද?
එහෙමයි ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ පැහැදිලි.
ඔව් ඒක තව ටිකක් මේ සියුම් හුස්සට කිට්ටු වුණොත් ඔయిత වැඩි ටිකක් තොරතුරු එනවා. මම මෙහෙම කියන්නම්. දැන් ඔය ටිකක් අපි අර අහලා තියෙනවානේ උදාහරණයක් දෙනවානේ මේ කළුවරේ යද්දී සර්පයෙක් දකින්න කතාව මුලක් දකින්න කතාව මුලින් ඈත තියලා බලපුවාම අපිට තේරෙන්නේ මුලක් වගේ. ටිකක් කිට්ටු වෙලා බලපුවම මුලක් නෙමෙයි සර්පයෙක්. තවත් ටිකක් කිට්ටු වෙලා බලපුවම මුලකුත් නෙමෙයි සර්පයෙකුත් නෙමෙයි කඩිපේලියක් කියන්නේ. එකම දේ. අපි කොච්චර දුරින් ඉඳලා බලනවද කියන එක මත තමයි ඒක පන්දනා. අර මුල කියලා දෙලා තැන දැක්කොත් මම එතන ඉඳගෙන බලාගෙන හිටියොත් ටිකටම මුල තමයි තියෙන්නේ. හැබැයි කිට්ටු වුණොත් නෑ ඒක නෙමෙයි පොඩි මෝෂන් එකක් මේකේ තියෙනවා කියලා පේනවා. එතකොට හිතනවා නයි හරි පොඩි සර්පෙක්. හැබැයි තවත් ටිකක් කිට්ටු වුණොත් පේනවා සර්පෙකුත් නෙමෙයි කඩිපේලිය. තවත් ටිකක් කිට්ටු වෙලා බැලුවොත් සමහරට කඩිත් නෙමෙයි කුඹිත් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් ඒ දිගටම හිත තියන් ඉන්න පුළුවන් එකද හැබැයි මේ වෙලාවේ කලබල වෙන්න නරකයි. කිට්ටු වෙන එක කඩාපනින්න නරකයි. හිමීට කිට්ටු වෙන්න ඕන. හරියට කොටියෙක් ගොදුරක් ගන්න යනවා වගේ.
එහෙමයි ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ.
මම හිතනවා දැන් පැහැදිලි ඇති කියලා ටිකක්.
එහෙමයි ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ පැහැදිලි.
තෙරුවන් සරණයි.
තෙරුවන් සරණයි ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ.
Right. Anybody else?
And no, there's nothing else from here.
Sorry?
No one else from Brisbane.
Right. So then we can chant. Who did last time? I think Sanuka did, yeah?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So I will give this time to Brisbane. So we have done our practice again another week, and the positive energies we have generated from this practice, we will pass on to all the beings who have helped and all our departed relatives and friends, especially our friend who recently passed away in an accident. And with that intention in our mind, I will ask someone in Brisbane to chant these stanzas, which I have shared now. Have I shared it?
Not yet. May all devas share this merit which we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all other beings share this merit which we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all the beings share this merit which we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, having shared this merit, long protect the dispensation. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, Devas and Nagas of mighty power, having shared this merit, long protect the teaching. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, Devas and Nagas of mighty power, having shared this merit, long protect me and others. If by deed, speech, or thought, heedlessly I have done any wrong, forgive, O Master, O Victor, greatly wise. If by deed, speech, or thought, heedlessly I have done any wrong, forgive, O... Sorry about that, could you scroll down a little bit? Could you scroll down a little bit further, Bante? If by deed, speech, or thought, heedlessly I have done any wrong, forgive, O Dhamma, to be seen here and now, timeless. If by deed, speech, or thought, heedlessly I have done any wrong, forgive, O Sangha, practice well, the incomparable. Let this merit accrue to our departed relatives, and may they be happy. Let this merit accrue to our departed relatives, and may they be happy. Let this merit accrue to our departed relatives, and may they be happy. By the grace of this merit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise, up to the time I attain Nibbana. By the grace of this merit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise, up to the time I attain Nibbana. By the grace of this merit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise, up to the time I attain Nibbana.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And I would like to make an announcement now. We have finalized a new venue for my retreat in May. We are doing it in early May. Venue is somewhere in Chandler, and it's close to Brisbane, and it's a 5-day retreat. Email will come very soon, so keep the days free for me. If you require any further information, let me know. Teruvan Saranai.
Teruvan Saranai.
Teruvan Saranai.